Hey everybody, welcome back. We're in the booth looking at Matt's CJ5. Got the windshield frame and the tailgate. The grill was a little wrinkly down in these corners here and here. Tiny little bit of filler in there. Everything has been sandblasted if you've been following along on this V6 build. Everything has been sandblasted down to clean white metal and is in epoxy primer right now. A couple of rough areas around where they did the stamping. Not a big deal. Super clean inside. Dash, we had to fill a lot of holes. Skim coat on that. Jeep stamps are in, blended. And the cowl on this one was a little bit wrinkly. Very light coat there. Hood is in very good shape. These are original fenders that I had, and they had some pitting and some wrinkles in them. Light coat of filler is really going to go a long way to making these look good. They are original steel. The insides of them are the correct shape, not like the reproductions where they put that Jeepster Commando inner with a CJ outer. These are from the West Coast. I've had these for a while and was just waiting for a project to use them on. And this is the project. So, the next step to getting a body last a while, we're going to seam seal all these joints. Right here on the wheelhouse, on the floor, across the floor riser, around the front floors. And what I use for that, I think you can see that okay. I'm going to try and get you in there. Oops. Okay. 3M Fast and Firm Seam Sealer, 8505. Don't be surprised when you see the cost of this stuff. It's right up around 30 bucks a tube these days. It is well worth it. You can't, I don't think you can get anything better than this. A lot of guys will use regular house caulking. It doesn't last. The paint doesn't adhere to it good. Get the correct stuff. This is automotive use seam sealer. It goes down in tools beautifully, and it will go a long way towards keeping this body nice. One outing and you get a rainstorm, you get a lot of moisture down in all your joints, and that's where bodies start rusting, down in the joints. We want to do everything we can to keep moisture and humidity out of all the joints. So right here where the floor meets the side panel, it's critical we seam seal all that. So I'm going to get set up for that, and we'll get doing that now. I'll clean everything with some pre-paint cleaner before we put that down, and then we'll start laying in some seam sealer. Okay, here's the upper side seam sealed. When I come across the bottom of this guy here, because water just always seeps under there, and that's caused a lot of rust. And there's a few areas on the underside that I like to do, so we'll flip the body over and I will show you some more areas that I think are critical to get. Okay guys, here's the underside. This joint where the side panel hits the tail light panel was in horrible shape on this one. It was wide open, and you don't want any of your wheel spray to get up in there. They were always sealed right there from the factory. There's a big lip on the floor riser, and I laid some seam sealer in there. The floors did not go together real good from the factory on this body, so I seam sealed that. Same thing where the body meets the side panel. A little bit more seam sealer, top and bottom. The bottom in there, you can see that same seam. And a $30 tube of seam sealer will keep your body from rusting for many years if you put it in the right spots. And there's one more critical area. I'm going to flip the body over again, and one more critical area I want to show you, and that's about it. I mean, you got big gaps under here where junk and stuff gets in there, but when we're done with the paint, we'll shoot some fluid film in there and get it in as much of the hat channel as we can. But we're gonna paint it first and then install the fluid film and try and give that hat channel a fighting chance. So one more area, and we should be all set with the seam sealing. Okay guys, one of the most critical areas that you need to seam seal on a factory body or a aftermarket body is your rain gutter right here. Your hood is going to sit in there. Every bit of rain is going to fall down in that gutter and roll down the side. This joint was wide open on this body, and it's common. These were sealed from the factory on factory bodies, so you've got to get some seam sealer in there. Don't build it too high, because you got your hood want to sit in there, but you got to get something in there. You have to waterproof that. If you don't waterproof that, when you wash your Jeep, it'll go inside on the floor. If you're in a rainstorm, water will pour inside. That joint is wide open. It'll run right down the inner firewall and at your feet. So that's one area you need to do. There's a second area you need to do right in here, right up against where your windshield sits. That's another critical joint right there. It has to be seam sealed, or you will get wet inside the Jeep. Okay guys, I think I got the whole body seam sealed good now. I did wind up putting a second coat in this rain gutter because it was so wrinkly and had so many holes in it. So I put a second coat on there. I don't like to put it on real thick in one shot, so I let the first one dry, laid a second one in there. I feel real good about that. Any rain that comes in there will easily travel down and out without any trouble. Inside is hardening up nice, and I do like to get this seam up under the fender. I know it's hard to see in here, but this is the outside of fender here. Get that long seam right there that always takes a beating. So I got that on both fenders. That's the seam that's right inside there. And the grill was a little tender in this area, so I put a bead there, and there was a big gap in there, so I put a bead there. This was very pitted. I think you can see a little hole right there. This was very pitted down here. And one last area I like to do is around the inside of the windshield frame. I know it doesn't seem like you should do around the inside, but if the windshield's down, if you get water in there, if you're washing it, anything like that, it'll creep in there and start rusting your windshield out. And when you get a good windshield, you want to do everything you can to keep it nice. Okay, this is what we're going to be spraying on there next. This is from Southern Polyurethanes. You know that I like their epoxy primer, which is on the body right now. The next thing I like the best is their Turbo 2K primer, high build. We'll get probably four coats on everything. Maybe not underneath the body. We'll probably put two coats underneath the body and 4 coats everywhere else. Fenders, hood, everything. And this stuff sands out beautifully. So this is what's going to be going on next. If this was an accident shop, we could put that seam sealer down, and half an hour it'll skin, and then we can paint over it, and then it'll harden throughout the next few days. We're going to leave our stuff to sit overnight before we do any priming, but this is going to be the primer we put on there, and this is their turbo stuff. This dries very fast, so that'll go on hopefully tomorrow. I may have to paint some transmission transfer cases, but we'll try and get this primer on, and I'll show you the process of putting this on, and then we'll do some wet sanding after that. Okay guys, just wanted to show you the seam sealing process. I did wind up using 2 full tubes to do everything. Every body is different. If the gaps are big, it's going to take a little bit more. If they're tighter, it'll take a little bit less. Depends on the areas that you do or that you want to do. We did inside the toolbox and everything. Most guys don't do that, but it does help from keeping the water out and messing up your seams. So that's about all I have for you today. Next time we come in the booth, I'll be spraying the primer on all the pieces. We'll give everything one more clean, and then we'll start spraying the primer and block sanding fenders and everything. So that's coming next, and as always, thanks for watching, and I will catch you on the next video.